Have you ever wondered what kind of man would willingly jump into a pit to fight a starving lion in the middle of winter? Not run from it, not hide from it, not wait for help, but jump straight into the darkness, knowing that only one of them would come back out alive. Most people have heard of David, the giant slayer. Many know Solomon, the wisest king who ever lived. But hidden in the pages of the Bible is the story of a warrior so fearless that kings trusted him with their lives. His name was Benaiah. And this is the story of the man who hunted monsters, protected kings, and helped save an entire kingdom from destruction. But to understand why his name inspired fear across Israel, we have to go back to the beginning. Winter had swallowed the land. A cold wind swept through the narrow streets of a small village as families gathered around their fires, shutting their doors against the darkness outside. Snow covered the hills, and the night seemed quieter than usual.
Against the wind.
Too quiet. Somewhere beyond the village, a lion wandered through the storm. Driven by hunger, the beast had left the wilderness in search of prey. Every breath poured from its mouth like smoke. Its paws sank deep into the snow. And someone had noticed. A young man stood at the edge of the village, staring at the enormous tracks carved into the frozen ground. His name was Benaiah. He wasn't a prince. He wasn't the son of a famous warrior. Benaiah walked toward danger. Carefully, he followed the tracks into the wilderness. The footprints led him farther and farther from safety, until they suddenly stopped at the edge of a deep pit. Benaiah stepped closer. Then he heard it. A roar exploded from below, echoing through the valley. He looked into the darkness and saw glowing eyes staring back at him. A lion, hungry, trapped, and furious. Then, without another thought, he jumped. The icy walls of the pit offered nowhere to run. Snow fell from above as the lion circled him, muscles tense and teeth exposed. One mistake meant death. The beast lunged. Benaiah threw himself aside just in time. And somehow, against every possible chance, Benaiah emerged victorious. When he climbed out of that pit, covered in blood and snow, something had changed. He was no longer just a priest's son. He had become a legend. But the lion was only the beginning, because God was preparing Benaiah for something far greater. Word of his courage spread across Israel. People whispered his name in marketplaces and around campfires. The story eventually reached King David himself. By then, David was already famous throughout the kingdom, a shepherd turned king, chosen by God. Soon, Benaiah joined the king's army. It wasn't long before another test arrived. Israel found itself at war with Moab. Standing against them were two warriors whose names struck fear into entire armies. They were brothers, fierce fighters known throughout the land for their strength and brutality. As the armies prepared for battle, the brothers stepped forward and shouted insults across the field. Then Benaiah stepped forward. Two warriors against one. The odds meant nothing to him. The brothers attacked together. Steel flashed. Dust rose from the battlefield. One sword swung toward his head while another aimed for his chest. Benaiah moved with speed and precision, dodging one strike after another. The battle was over almost as quickly as it had begun. When the dust settled, the two greatest champions of Moab lay defeated. Benaiah simply cleaned his weapon and returned to camp. Watching from a distance, King David realized something important. This man wasn't reckless. He wasn't driven by glory. One day, Israel faced an Egyptian force unlike any they had seen before, and among them stood a giant. Then Benaiah noticed something terrible. In the chaos of battle, he had lost his sword. No shield, no armor. Only a wooden club remained in his hand. The soldiers around him grabbed his arm. "You can't fight him. He'll kill you." "That's suicide." Benaiah looked toward the giant. Then he answered, "The weapon does not make the warrior. Victory belongs to God." And he walked forward. The giant laughed. "You dare challenge me with a stick?" With a roar, the Egyptian hurled his spear. The weapon shot through the air like lightning. At the last possible moment, Benaiah moved. Benaiah seized the weapon with both hands and ripped it free. Shock spread across the giant's face. For the first time, fear entered his eyes. Moments later, the giant fell, and once again, Benaiah walked away victorious. From that day forward, King David kept Benaiah close. He appointed him commander of his personal guard, the Cherethites and the Pelethites, the most elite warriors in Israel. The years took their toll on David. The mighty king grew weak. The warrior who had once defeated Goliath now struggled to rise from his bed. And whenever a throne stands empty, ambitious men begin to move. Although God had chosen Solomon to rule after David, another son, Adonijah, wanted the crown for himself. Believing his father was too weak to stop him, Adonijah gathered supporters in secret. He convinced Joab, commander of the army. He persuaded Abiathar the priest. Then he organized a grand feast. Inside the palace, the prophet Nathan and Bathsheba rushed to David.
Solomon now.
My lord, Adonijah has declared himself king. He summoned three men,
Zadok,
Nathan,
you know my
Zadok,
will.
and Benaiah.
Take the guard.
Take Solomon to
Solomon
Gihon,
shall be king
David
this day.
commanded. Place him on my royal mule. Anoint him king before all Israel. Then David turned to Benaiah. Their eyes met. The kingdom's future rested on what happened next. Benaiah bowed his head and answered, "As the Lord has been with my king, so may he be with Solomon." Without hesitation, he gathered the royal guard. The procession moved through Jerusalem. The feast ended instantly. Panic swept through the guests. Men abandoned their food and fled into the night. Adonijah ran for his life. Because everyone knew one thing. If Benaiah had chosen Solomon, the battle was already over. But Solomon's throne was still threatened. Adonijah refused to surrender his dream of becoming king. Quietly, he began another plot. This time, Solomon understood. So Solomon called for the man he trusted most, Benaiah. The command was simple. The threat had to end. Benaiah obeyed. No speeches, no hesitation, only loyalty. Then came Joab. The once great commander fled to the altar, believing the holy place would protect him. Benaiah entered the sanctuary. "The king commands you to come out." Joab refused. For a moment, the warrior who had faced lions and giants stood silently. Solomon rewarded him. The shepherd boy who had chased danger into a snowy pit became commander of the entire army. The son of a priest became one of the most powerful men in the kingdom. Because while others chased crowns, Benaiah chased purpose. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more incredible stories from the Bible. And tell us in the comments, what country are you watching from? And would you have had the courage to jump into the pit with the lion?